Welcome everyone to this episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. Here with another great business owner today. His name is Scott Snellings. He's with Snellings Law, based in Texas. And glad to have you here with me, Scott. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Brett. I appreciate you having me on. I'm a big fan of the show.
Thank you so much. Now we have several hosts. My name is Brett Gilliland. I'll be hosting this episode. And Scott and I are just getting acquainted, but Scott, rather than have me share with everyone else what you're doing with your firm, why don't you briefly introduce your firm, when you got started, and then we'll jump into some of your seven-figure journey lessons.
Yeah, absolutely, Brett. Thank you. So Snellings Law was created on September 1st of 2017. It is a personal injury law firm only. That's all we do is help injury victims. And about 2 months later, on October 31st of 2017, is when I got my kidney transplant. So I was blessed that my best friend, Jacob Thompson, was an amazing match and was willing to give me his kidney. And so, yeah, after 2 months of having my doors open, I had to hand over the keys to a paralegal that I'd known for 2 months. And thankfully, we foresaw this coming and were able to plan out processes and systems and make sure that she was able to keep things afloat. And I wasn't out that long, quite frankly. So started off with a bang in terms of challenges. And yeah, here we are 6.5 years later, and we're thriving. We have, there's 5 attorneys. I think we have about 13 people under roof now. And then, as you well know, and I'm sure deal with, we have all kinds of people not under our roof that we're getting to manage day in and day out in terms of virtual assistants. I have an executive assistant over in the Philippines who's absolutely amazing, our marketing team. So we're busy. We're busy, man.
We are busy. And you've got a great kidney thanks to a friend. That's a cool story. So you knew as you were opening your firm, you already knew at that point that you needed a kidney. That was only a couple months before you got one. How long had you been wrestling with that reality or facing that reality?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis back in, I think it was 2008, 2009, and they put me on some medication, and that medication completely destroyed my kidneys. It was thankfully my primary care physician caught what was going on. I was put on some high dose steroids, and that saved my kidneys for about 10 years. But I also had a really aggressive nephrologist, and so when it was bad enough where insurance would pay for it, he had me out there pounding the pavement, asking everybody and their dog for a kidney. And so I was able to find, like I said, my best friend was a great match. And so I was actually never even on dialysis. So for people with a kidney transplant, I am one of the very few who doesn't have to go through that process.
Well, I'm glad that worked out so smoothly for you. Okay, so let's talk about business. You started 7 years ago-ish.
Right.
And your firm's grown quite a bit. Now there are 5 attorneys. Talk to us about not those very early days from just getting off the ground to roughly that $1 million mark, but after you started to get some lift, say, okay, this is working. We know how to get clients. We know how to serve them. We're starting to get more and more cases. And now the team started to grow, and you're making that transition from the lawyer who probably did almost everything in the firm at first to now I'm trying to scale a business, scale a firm. Talk to us about some of those growing pains and some of the lessons you learned in there.
Yeah, so to start with, I had zero business background. I was a psychology major. I was a pre-med major, and then I made all A's and a D was in biology my first semester. So that dream quickly went out the window. So I never stepped foot in the business school. So when I started the firm, I'd had a previous firm with another lawyer, and then we went our separate ways after about 9 years. So I had the basics down, but I wanted to create something special. And so one of the things I did is I went to several really smart business people that I knew and asked them to recommend books. And so created a reading list and just dove in and read everything that they recommended. I found a mastermind group. I'm a member of Great Legal Marketing, like we were discussing. And that was a real eye-opening experience. Talk about surrounding yourself with inspirational people who know what they're doing, who know about business and the law. And it just changed my complete perspective on what I was trying to build. And so I think when you put all those things together, it really opened up my mind to, okay, here's what I really want to do. I want to create this amazing law firm that really takes care of people with an amazing culture And we want to serve all aspects of our community. We want to be able to be a place that anyone can go to. And if we're not the right law firm for them, we're going to get them to someone who is. And so we want to be the go-to source for anybody and everybody in our community to go to, not just if they have a PI claim, but if they just have any questions about a lawyer, we can put them in touch with them or provide them with the right resources. And so one of the things that we really strive to do is change that kind of personal injury reputation. And we want to be an asset to our community. And so our core values are built on that. One of the other things that we've done is over the last probably 3 years now, we implemented EOS. And man, you talk about a game changer. That was it. I always tell people that was the top 3 business decision that we've made, because what it forced us to do was to really communicate with each other. I had this vision in my head and I knew where I wanted to go, but it was not written out anywhere. And whenever I sat down and I tried to really put it in a perspective that I could talk about, it was this nebulous thing, right? So when we get into EOS, our very second meeting, I think, is when we start talking about vision. And between what was in my head and my law partner and the other lady on our leadership team, Melissa Perry, we were able to really put some parameters on that vision. And from that point, we took off because everybody can really see, okay, this is where we're headed. This is what we're trying to accomplish. And then you put the metrics in and the scorecards for accountability. And that just really, when we started hitting the hockey stick growth, it was then. I think that was our secret weapon, quite frankly.
Well, I want to actually highlight a few things that you said. You started with just books, like a desire to learn, like, tell me what I need to know, right? Started down a medical school path, went to law school. Now you're on this like self-created business school,
Right.
business acumen, business understanding, and you started reading books. So I'm sure Traction's up on that list because you mentioned EOS. What are some of the other books early on that were like, that was game changer for me?
Oh, so it spans all different areas. I read several by Seth Godin on the marketing front. Extreme Ownership by Jocko. That's still a book that I hand out to every single person, and it's probably the book I've given away the most.
Yeah.
I just finished reading Buy Back Your Time.
Like that.
Game changer for me. It's amazing the timing that I read some of these books because I'll have something going on, and then that book will speak directly to that. Just hired the EA and then Buy Back Your Time. They just coalesce together amazingly.
Perfect.
So those books, I mean, several Daniel Pink books, lots of operational books, systemology. I mean, I read an entire book on how to create systems. That's how, I was willing to sit there and spend, however many hours reading a book on how to create systems. And so, if I was at my office right now, you'd see the bookshelf behind me. Yeah, these are all fiction books here. I'm a big fiction reader too. But I can sit there and look.
But and it's less about the specific books. It's more about the point of, I had to go figure out what I needed to know about business. And I love that example. And then you paired the self-learning stuff with some peer learning, with the mastermind group. Like, let me go where other people, and maybe it's part peer, part mentoring, where there are people who know, who've been down this path or who are going down this path and can share with me. Those are great things. And then you found a system that works for you. We're not an EOS shop, but you found a framework that helps you get clear with your team about where we're going and how we're going to communicate with each other, and that's essential. So the reading, the peer group, the mentoring, the system, the operating system, all of that stuff really helped you move through those stages. And I think a lot of business owners get stuck in their craft, right? They're like, I'm a lawyer, I know that thing, and I just do that thing. And they never get into I got to become a capable business builder mindset. And all I've heard you talk about so far are the steps that you've taken to build your business. And that's incredible.
Well, and I'll tell you too, I think, I know in the lawyer field, a couple of things get in our way, and that is a lack of humility and ego. You got to be able to say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. And the quicker you can get to that point, the more ready you are to absorb information and to go find mentors. Because if you don't have to commit the mistakes that they've made, you can just learn from them. It's a lot faster and it's a whole lot cheaper to do that. And then in terms of ego, I think that is just for all of us. an ever-present thing that we're having to deal with. Whether it is admitting that you need help, whether it's admitting that, hey, somebody else can do this just as good, if not better than me, and going through every aspect of your business and seeking true input. One of the things that we measure our team on for quarterly bonuses is, have you made improvements to our processes? And we encourage to throw ideas out there, put ideas out there, show us our problems, show us our bottlenecks so we can fix them. And so we really encourage that. And, it may not be a very good idea that they throw out there, but that not very good idea may lead to a really good one because it gets a topic on the table. It may be, here's a solution to this problem. We're like, okay, well, what's the real problem here? And then as we work back through that, we say, oh, okay, yeah, you know what? We really do need to address this. Some of our best breakthroughs have come from that very thing, from team members coming and saying, hey, this is an issue. I think we need to do this. And then us kind of backtracking to figure out what the real issue is and then put in a permanent solution to that.
Well, I may have to go study some books myself to get the distinction between humility and not having ego, because they seem so related to me. But I love this very practical thing that you just shared about, hey, I don't have all the answers, and I'm surrounded by amazing people who have creative ability, they have problem-solving ability. Like, let's ask them to get involved. And I think that's a key that a lot of business owners miss, is that there's so much more potential when I unlock that potential by inviting my team to co-create and problem solve with me. That's a different approach. And I love that you called that out.
Yeah. And we tell people, even during the hiring process, say, hey, when you come in, and you look at the sign, my name is on that sign. But there is not a single person who has come through these doors, either former employee or current employee, who hasn't helped build what is sitting here right here today, whether it's their ideas, whether it's the way that they've communicated something. Everybody has left an impact on this firm. And so I think that's the firm's legacy. And I hope that's what it'll continue to be, is that every single person who's ever collected a paycheck from us has left a lasting mark on the law firm.
Well, aside from being able to have like an ego switch, I wish it were that easy, like ego switch. I'm switching that off. And stereotypically, lawyers they're smart. They go through all this schooling. They know how to communicate. Maybe there's a little bit of ego built into them after all that education, jumping through all those hoops. What are some practical ways that you've found the ability to check that ego or turn it off? Other than, I mean, I love what you shared about asking the team to get involved with ideas. Is there anything else that helped you overcome what might be a typical ego thing that we have as business owners?
Yeah, I surround myself with a leadership team who isn't afraid to call me out on it. That's
Okay,
a huge
that's
one.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. And so if they're like, hey, Scott, like, take a step back and actually listen to this. Like, oh, okay. I just got called out here. And, the other thing too is I have seen it play out where whenever I can take a step back and say, all right, I'm jumping the gun here. I know what the solution is, but I'm going to let other team members throw stuff out there. I'm wrong a lot.
Mm.
I'm wrong a lot. And so it's kind of forced humility. And whenever you realize, oh, geez, yeah, I was completely wrong on that. And I think having the ability to kind of put that ego aside and accept the fact that, hey, this is a good thing. It's a good when Scott's wrong. I mean, Scott can learn stuff, right? And I love to learn. And so I think having a team and then putting that, I guess, creating that atmosphere where people aren't afraid to question me, to question Rocio or Alyssa or anybody else in the office, because they know that we're open to hearing it. We're not necessarily going to agree, but I think when you create that culture, it's a lot easier to have people that aren't defensive and they're able to be a little bit more humble and set that ego aside and realize, hey, you know what? This person does have good ideas.
Yeah, it's my job to like tease apart some of the things that you're saying so that hopefully people who are listening can really grab onto some of these nuggets you're sharing. I heard a couple things in there. One was around you used the word culture. You also talked about a space or a safe space for people to speak up. So you said you surrounded yourself with people, the leadership team who are willing to call you out, but there's
Right.
still an implied ability. And then you went on to say, and create a space or a culture where it's okay to speak up. So you not only got the right kind of people, but then you created an environment or a culture that said, hey, we value when you speak up, and you've made that completely safe where they wouldn't speak up. So that's one thing that I heard loud and clear. You want to comment further on that?
Well, I was just going to say, we start the interview process. If
Mm,
there's somebody who makes it to the leadership team for the interview process, they're pretty good ways along. And I flat out tell them, hey, here's what we expect. We expect for you to come in here and give it your all. You're going to screw up. There is not a single person in our office who hasn't screwed up at some point in time.
yeah.
The only reason that you would get in trouble for screwing up is if you don't tell somebody, right? In the book, Turn the Ship Around, right? There was an error log. If you screwed up, you had to go write it down. If you wrote it down, no big deal. Because when you know what the errors are, you can look at them and say, hey, how do we fix this? How do we keep it from happening again? You change your process, you change your system. And we have those same expectations. If something's getting messed up, we had a big screw up just on the finance side earlier this year. And I got a phone call Friday afternoon, and it hurt. It was a big tuition payment. That's what I call mistakes, big tuition payments. But I was told and didn't get mad. It stung, but I didn't get mad. And we figured out that very next Monday, okay, what happened? Where did the process fall down? Or did we just not have a process? And it turned out we didn't have a process because it was kind of a newer thing that we were doing. And so very quickly we developed one. And I think everybody's confident in that process.
I love the tuition payment idea. That's you're like you're putting yourself through school, and you're putting the business and the team through school, right? It's just
Yeah.
part of. I want to call out one more little thing that I heard you say, and it was about how sometimes you go into a conversation, or maybe something comes up in a meeting, and you're like, I know what to do here. Like I got the answer, but it sounds like you've developed a little practice before you just say the answer. A little practice to check in with the team and what they think. And then I heard you say a lot of times they come up with stuff that I'm like, oh, I had it wrong, and they were right. And but you wouldn't have got there if you didn't develop this little muscle of ask them first, ask the question, and that's really cool.
It and it is a muscle that you have to work out every single day. And there's many days where it doesn't get any work because I'm in a hurry. I don't have time to sit there and watch them, fumble around with it if I know what to do and I just blurt it out.
Right.
That's the wrong way to go about doing it. And so we always encourage people, hey, come in here. All right, you have a question. What do you think? Let me hear your reason through this. Because if I can hear a reason through it, then I know if they either don't understand what the real issue is, or I can see where their logic is faulty, or they reason all the way through. And I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely right. Absolutely. And it builds their confidence, and it helps us better coach them to become better teammates.
Yeah, not only do you get to the better answers that way, but you're actually building people in the process, which is incredible. I found a lot of things that holds many of us back in our businesses is that we don't understand this principle, that our business cannot outgrow our leadership. And applied more broadly, our business cannot outgrow the collective leadership of the leaders on our team. And even one step further, our business cannot outgrow the collective capability of all of our team. And so as you're working with them to not just get to the best ideas, but coach them, lift them up, you're actually investing in scalable assets, right? I mean, I don't like to think of people as assets, but you know what I mean? There's scalable, leverageable material there in those people that you're building. And that's fantastic.
It is. My law partner will call us a learning firm. We traditionally have hired younger paralegals, younger attorneys, and taught them up, if you will, the way that we do things. And to watch them excel has just been absolutely amazing. They catch on quick. And with the culture that we have, it all coalesces to be really proud of. I'm really proud of our team and absolutely love them. We have lots of different L10 meetings where everybody is forced to communicate. And I really do feel every quarter we get better. We get better as a team. We get better as a firm. We're getting better results. We're better throughout the client journey. And it's just really exciting to watch. And, that's why I get up every morning excited.
Well, for a guy who didn't have any business training, you've done a good job of training yourself on the business building aspects, um, hiring and building a team, creating a culture, doing the scalable things, putting the vision in place and the communication practices in place. So now you're at a next level, and I'm not suggesting that you're stuck in any way, but let's be real, business
Yeah.
it never like is absent of challenges. So if we want to get real with people who are listening right now, what are some of the current things, or maybe the biggest thing that you're wrestling lately that might just relate to people who are listening? They go, "Oh, I'm not alone in that. Scott has that challenge too."
Sure. Well, so being a plaintiff's personal injury lawyer, we can sign up. We have a fantastic month this month, and we're not going to see anything from that for 9 months, 12 months, 2 years. So it is always a cash flow game, right? So we may have a lot of cash flow. And so figuring out a system as to, all right, how do you weather those storms? How much do you save in like a capital account? We use profit first. That's the methodology that we use. And so everything has its own bucket, if you will. And that's worked out really well. We have a great bank that we work with, Esquire Bank. We're new to them and absolutely love what they're doing. And so the financial part of it, budgeting, we've created different reports to really track and really try to fine tune. How do we estimate case values whenever we sign them up? How do we estimate, about when they're going to settle and close, to where we have these reports where we can now forecast these cash flow issues and say, okay, Q1 of 2025 is going to be a rough patch. So we know it's coming. And quite frankly, I would rather know that and prepare for it, because it reduces so much anxiety. So really knowing your numbers and staying on top of that, and then being able to really forecast your cash flow is always hard, but we've gotten a lot better. We have a fractional CFO, Leah Miller, who's really, really good at helping us with that. Her background is in a plaintiff's law firm. And so that's really good. The ever-present problem is that of delegating. How do we make sure that every seat is really doing what they should be doing, where they're excelling? And then how do the leaders get more and more off of their plate to where they can really focus on, the Dan Sullivan principle, the top 20%, right? Where you're really, really good at what you do and it fills your cup and you're excited to go to work. And so we do a quarterly delegate and elevate with the entire team. And so we're always looking at, okay, what seats do we need to fill? We're always looking at the structure of the firm. And that's super complicated. We're kind of in a teams method, but we don't have full teams. And so we have some people splitting teams. And so, okay, how do we do that? And is the next best hire a case manager? Is it a litigation paralegal? Is it a biz dev person? If so, what would we have the biz dev person doing? And then I'm the king of ideas, and so I can have a biz dev person doing about 10 different jobs. So I already have 6 or 7 job posts written out, and it's just kind of which order are we going to deploy them in? And then you have to look down the road. What can we pay these people? We want to pay really well. We want to have really good benefits. Okay, well, on the benefits side, are we using the right vendors? Vendor management. And so for Alyssa, who is in our head of operations role, we got her a coach to help her improve. And because I'm hard to keep up with, I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm hard to keep up with. And so she's basically managing up and she's helping me stay on track with what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I really think that scaling factor of how do you delegate, where do you delegate, where do you grow the team and when? That's big problems that we struggle with. And those are the ideas that I wake up with at 2 a.m.
Yeah, along with make sure we have the fuel that we need or the resources we need in the cash flow lumpiness that you described. Because I've done some work with personal injury law firms before, and the revenue you're getting this quarter is a result of cases you picked up 9 and 12 months ago or longer, right? And you described
Right.
that. So it's interesting. You kind of know already how your year's going to end up, right? For 2024, for the most part. And so as you see when those cases are coming in and you get those estimated case values, you can project the cash flow ups and downs. And then if you layer on top of that the conversation you had about when can we afford that next hire and in what order and all that stuff. So you're doing it. It's fun to hear you talk about it. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely.
Any other, I don't know, wish I had figured this out right when I first started kinds of ideas as we wrap this interview up today, Scott?
Oh man, I could probably, if you gave me a half hour, I could probably come up with about 50 of them easily.
Yeah. Right.
I think early on, really getting that vision down. Cameron Harrell's Vivid Vision is amazing. It's a process. The book's like 110 pages, 115 pages, something like that. Super easy, and it gives you all the exercises to do to walk through it. So really having that vision down, and then jumping in super early with somebody who knows what they're doing with marketing. One of my first hires was a marketing director, and it was me and a paralegal and marketing director.
Yeah.
Because I had cases, but I needed to sign up cases if I wanted to keep the thing going.
That's right.
And so really having that all-encompassing marketing plan and understanding that there's just not a marketing person out there who's going to be amazing at everything. And so your marketing person really needs to be almost a cat herder with different marketing vendors, know how to hold each of those marketing vendors accountable. And if you can find that person, hold on to them.
Yeah. And then you supplemented that with some really great outside marketing mastermind involvement, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Because I didn't know anything about marketing.
Yeah.
And so where do I go to learn? From the people who've been doing it for 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah. And we all got to figure out how to get and serve clients, keep clients. And then we got to figure out this other business building, leadership, organization development stuff that we've been talking about. And those are kind of the two things we got to work through. And today's interview has been a great spotlight of both of those things. So thank you for spending time with us, Scott. If people want to connect with you or learn about Snellings Law, where would they go to do that?
Yeah, so snellingsinjurylaw.com is our website. Snellings Injury Law, that's our handle on Facebook and Instagram. And then on LinkedIn, me, Scott Snellings. I share probably 3-4 posts a week and really enjoy that platform. It's awesome connecting with people like you, Brett.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thanks for being here. For all of you out there listening, please like, share, tell everybody about these episodes because just like what Scott shared today, we're sharing real in the trenches experience, things that have happened in the seven-figure journey that allow these business owners to keep moving forward in their growth. It's super valuable hearing real stories from real people. So be with us again next time. Thanks for tuning in.